Hello, welcome again to the another episode of our community. Today, unfortunately, man is not gonna be around, so I'll be leading this conversation today regarding the youth, so out of the control. With me, I have the same people on the other side. I've got Bingi and Abdul Rahman. And if you wanna join us, there is a link in the comment section. Please click that link, put your name down in the studio, then you will be live with us. If you wanna put any sort of question, opinion, views, just follow that information there. Uh, on today's topic, actually, when I raise that concern or when I send that link out to the people, then I've got so many questions. People are thinking that why we think every youth has got a problem. This is not about every youth has got a problem, but if there's any other things we have to discuss, we have to educate the community and societies, then we have to do so because you don't know if your kid has got a problem out there or inside there because we know that one of our program there is a lady, she said that our kids have got three faces. They've got faces in the house where they are acting nice, but when they are at school they're completely different to compare when they are in the street. So before we start on that topic today, I think I'll have to raise the question to brother Abdurrahman because actually he's the one who came with this, and then being as well, he supported that, and he thinks there's an importance for us to discuss regarding the oath. Abdurrahman, do you really think there is an importance for us to discuss about this matter, being kids out of the control?
Yeah, 100%. It leads to it. Well, it's kind of took a segue to this point now from what we've been discussing over the last um 2 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Hmm.
it's an important question now that needs to be asked. Is like, why are our kids getting involved in gangs and getting involved in knife crime and getting involved in all these different types of activities. I know you just mentioned there a sister um, was somewhat defensive, you would say, as to you know don't say that all of them, don't paint all of the young people with the same brush. But like you importantly said, it's a it is a good percentage of our youth that are out of control, that are in gangs, that are selling drugs, that are getting involved with these illegal activities. So yeah, it's an open-ended question. I think it's an important conversation to have, and hopefully we'll be able to divulge into things a little bit more in this hour that we have, inshallah.
Hmm. Right. Well, Bing, what do you think about that?
Yeah, like I always say that um, if you think about it goes back to the whole principle and philosophy and saying that it takes a village to raise a child because that's a whole African proverbs. And I basically believe that parenting starts within the home with the child. Don't get me wrong. I know that a parent can do as much as they can and to make sure that their child is taught all the right things and knows the wrong things and what to do and what not to do to be a positive person that is contributing to society on a whole. However,
Hmm.
I think that a lot of parents nowadays don't spend enough time with their children. I myself have been guilty of that, so I'm not going to speak without also putting myself in that category. And I think even parenting on the whole, they spend. I know you've got to work and you've got to go out and you've got to go to work and you've got to do the things to bring in money to pay the bills. At the same
Hmm.
time, that can be at the detriment of your children being left at home, unsupervised, parenting themselves, looking after themselves, going out and looking to other people for inspiration and for the role model. So I basically think that to a certain extent, parents are responsible for the behavior of their kids because if you have, if I can put it from another point,
Mm-hmm.
there's been situations where you've got 10, 11, 12-year olds who are going on county lines, who are leaving from the area that they live, crossing county lines to go to another city or another town to get involved in crime, i.e., drugs, carrying money, carrying weapons. Now, you tell me, where are the parents of these 10, 11, 12, 13-year olds? Because I'm sure that at 10, 11, 12, 13-year old, you as a parent should know where your child is for at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In some cases, even a 24 hours, you should know where your child is. So I think that parents, I know a lot of parents are going to probably be jumping up and down and saying, well, I teach my youth. We're not going to generalize and stereotype all kids as being the same, but we're talking about the problems that we have on the street with our young people. And I think that it does stem from the parents.
All right. So, Bingi, you said that most of the problem probably parents are the source of that. Before we go to the parents, do you really think there's any other reason why we believe our kids or why we think our kids are going out of the control?
Why do I think? Well, we go to the second point, is that society on itself. I think, I know if we think about what we call a nanny state, where the government gets involved
Hmm.
and tells people how to run their life personal, whether it be how you eat, what you eat, when you drink, or you drink, where you go, where not to go. And I think even from a point of view where there's certain laws would prevent parents from being able to discipline their kids in the way that I know. And I'm not talking about child abuse, because I know if you think about it nowadays, oh, I don't know, or the other brothers here who are brought up with African parents, but as from the Caribbean, I know back in the days you used to get some proper beatings, and anything our parents could get to beat you, they would beat you with it. No, we might look upon it when we were small and saying, "Oh, that was rough," but no, we realize why our parents used to try their best. With me, from a different point of view, if I can just talk about my personal life experience, is I was brought up by in a one parent home with my mother the majority of the time. And majority of the time, my mother didn't have to beat us. She only had to talk or look at us a certain way. And
Hmm.
and me being a macho man, an alpha male, it didn't stop me from being scared of my mother just by knowing that when I went outside, anything that I did at a young age, my mother found out, I was going to get in a trouble. So when I was growing up in a young age, I was afraid to do certain things and get involved in certain things. So this is why I believe that the government also has to take some responsibility for taking away them powers away from parenting. And I'm not talking about child abuse, where they're saying that a lot of the parents beat their child, which borders on child abuse. I'm talking about discipline. Without being able to discipline your child in the right manner, then the child is going to be able to go out and do what he wants, knowing that no one can't say nothing bad to them. And I think that is one of the reasons why our children have lost. Um, I know you're saying uncontrolled. I don't even think it's really out of control. I just think that they're basically unruly, which when they are out of the house, but you've also got to look at the long-term thing. Are they the same way in their house? And I know that a lot of kids talk to their parents the same way that they talk to their friends, which is a problem in itself from my point of view.
Right. The reason why I've raised that question because I had an opportunity to speak to some of the parents regarding this matter, which we are discussing today. And then few of them, they were saying that the government or the law or I don't know, the rules of the government give them a hard time to control their kids. That's why they are thinking rather than to blame themselves, they are believing the law of the government. It gives them a hard time to control their youth, and they are thinking that these laws, they are the source of the kids going out of the control. What do you, I mean, Yusuf, what do you think about that? Yusuf, are you there? All right, to you, Abdurrahman, what do you think about the comment which parents try to made regarding the law of the government, thinking that they are the source of our youth going out of control?
It definitely has a huge part to play in it, even in my line of work, in my profession. I work in the care sector, and you get a lot of young people coming into care or being, some of them, they sign themselves into care. They run away from home, all those kind of things. It does kind of like take the power away from the parents, in terms of that. I have a few, or I've had a few whereby they just didn't want to be at home, and because their parents was too strict, so they went to school and have said to their parents, to the school, that my parents, my mom or my dad, is too strict with me. They shout at me, they make me stay in, they take away my phone. They do those kind of things, and that goes to the safeguarding in schools, and sometimes it can lead to your child being taken out of your care. So fear of this, I guess, from parents is that they then allow their child to kind of like fall out of control, because you don't have that power from your you don't actually like own your child. Like it's like government owns your child, because the moment you discipline your child in a way that you may seem fit, or you punish your child in a way that you may seem fit, they can call I don't know, child line, or go to school, and it's a safeguard, whatever it may be, and your child can be taken away from you. So because of that fear, a lot of parents let things slide. Secondly, I know, and I've heard of young people who learn how to put themselves into care by going on social media like TikTok. TikTok will show them how they can get away from their parents. If your parents are too strict, what they can do, who they can go and see, to kind of like play with the law so that they can get their own way, and be signed into care where they have a lot more freedom. So yeah, I can somewhat sympathize with parents who have that view that we don't have any legal rights or legal responsibility, because when we do, or it's challenged, then they can be taken away, or social services can become involved with our kids, and then they somewhat have more power than what we do as parents. So I can definitely understand where some of the parents are coming from, that the laws mess up this this control.
All right, Bingi, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I agree with everything Simeon just said, and I don't want some of the parents to get it twisted or get it wrong. If I do say that parenting starts within the household, and secondly, I do think that the government has interfered personally with how parents actually parent their children, and they think it's for the betterment, or where they brought in these laws for safeguarding issues. But at the same time, if you look at the society on the whole, as when it comes to our kids and their behavior, if you go back 20, 30, 40 years, it's nowhere like it was back then, like it is now. There's so many more unruly kids outside. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. When we were growing up, if we was on a bus and elder people came on the bus, if we would be roaded straight away, we would just be quiet. As a matter of fact, we will get out of our seat and give it and ask them if they want a seat. If we was on a street corner, we would be roaded. As soon as we seen somebody all walking towards us, we would get quiet. and wait until they was gone past. And if the elders said to us, the older people said to me, what you doing around here? You shouldn't be around here. Go home. We disperse. We wouldn't be no argument. We wouldn't back chat to them. We would just disperse and go find somewhere else to go or whatever the case may. Nowadays, the kids don't have no behavior. And this is why I'm saying about starting at home. Regardless of what the government takes away regarding to discipline, teaching your kids the basic principles of respecting your elders and respecting people outside starts with the parents. That's why I'm saying that regardless of anything, parenting starts at home. Teaching your kids basic principle and morals of how to behave when you're on the road, when somebody's talking to you, and even a basic good day, good morning, good evening. Some of the kids don't even have that. Just to acknowledge you as an elder person and say, oh, good day, sir, or whatever. They don't have no respect like that. And this is why I'm saying parenting starts at home, to teaching your youth certain basic moral principles of how to behave when you're outside.
Okay. Bingi said that parenting has to start at home, and because of the example which I gave, that some of the parents thinking that the government has got a bigger opportunity, or he gave big chances to the kids to go out of the control. So let's concentrate with the parenting now. So what do you guys thinking? What caused the kids going out of control? Yusuf, you here now?
Yeah, I'm here now because I'm not at home. I'm in Milton Keynes. I'm somewhere else. So,
All right.
but
So are you ready, maybe to add your opinion or views based on
yes,
parenting?
yes. Just to reflect back on what everyone says. I agree with everyone here. The government does make it harder for us or for any parents to have full power. One, the social services. You can't discipline your kids culturally because of the social services. You have to discipline your kids how the government want you to discipline your kids. And also, one of the source why I believe that parents do lose that power is schools. The schools they interfere with disciplining your child. And one, if a child goes to school and they don't feel like it's wrong, and they say, oh, this and this happened at home, but they're speaking as in just to speak to their teacher, as in just to just to be open, and the teacher might see that and be like, oh, well, that's not right, that shouldn't be happening, and then go to the social services and be like, oh, this and this is happening, and then take something small and then twist it into something that it's not. And some parents are scared for their kids to be taken away, so the government and the schools have a big part to play in disciplining our kids, because they take the power and they don't leave the power to the parents. So I think that is what we everyone said in this panel today is completely true.
Right. So let's get back to the parenting. This is, I think, it's very important issue right now, or very important topic to discuss. To you, Bingi, okay, tell us more about parenting.
Well, like I say, and I'll add to what I said earlier. And Yusuf mentioned something which I think is crucial. That one word, culturally, because we know as Black people, we kind of parent our kids different from other people, and respect. And this is why I'm kind of, parents can use the government as an excuse to a certain extent, because the government are not in your house telling you how to when it comes to teaching your kids respect. I've got 12 kids, and I can tell you this now, I personally would not take no disrespect from any of my kids. It doesn't even make the difference how old they are. I myself, I'm nearly 60-year-old, and my mother is alive, and my mother still tells me to shut up if I and stop talking stupidness if she thinks I am, even when if I don't think I am talking stupidness. And I'm not going to turn around and tell my mother, you should shut up. I would just laugh and try to explain my point of view, but I would never be disrespectful. And this is why I'm saying, yes, the government do intervene with how we parent and discipline our kids, but teaching them respect and manners is down to the parents. No, some may say, well, I personally can tell when a child has got good respect and manners from his parents. You can tell because there is a lot of youths who I can say are unruly, but when they talk to you with manners and respect. I'm going to go as far to say back in Jamaica, I know a lot of kids who are really, really out of hand, out of order on the streets. But when they are talking to you, when they are addressing you, they're addressing you as sir. They're showing your manners, they're showing your discipline, and they're still scared of the parents. It doesn't make a difference how bad they are on the street, whether involving gangs and guns, they're still showing their parents respect. At the same time, no Jamaican government has taken the approach that other countries have now, where they're trying to bring in certain discipline measures taken away from the parenting. But I can guarantee that that will not stop parents in Jamaica from parenting their children and disciplining them. A lot of parents will probably end up in prison, to discipline their kids.
Right.
Bingy, I just wanted to ask one question to Bingy. From your experience, do you think bad kids are more respectful than other good ones? As in, some unruly kids. Let me say some kids that other people will see as oh, that's a bad you. And do you think that they're more respectful when it comes to the elders than other kids?
Well, I'm not going to generalize and say all across the board, but my experience, I know some really bad kids, and I've dealt with a lot of young adults then who are deemed to be really bad, and they've shown me utter respect. They've shown me manners and respect, and I think that's because they know that I'm a person who I demand respect. So I think that they might deal with me from that on that level. Now, to answer your question from my point of view, I would say that whether I believe that if a youth has been brought up a certain way to show manners and respect, it doesn't care how bad he is out on the street, he will still have manners and respect to people. And I think, can they lose their manners and respect that they have gained? Some might do, but the majority of them, I would say, would still have that manners and respect. So the answer to that question, I would say yes. There are a lot of bad youths on the streets which still have manners and respect to their elders, not just to their elders, but to people on all. And the problem with, we have to define when we say manners and respect, because there's a lot of ego within our youth nowadays, and a lot of them want respect, but they don't give respect, which they don't understand. Where if there was explained over the years that you have to be able to you have to work for respect. Doesn't just come to you. You have to work and show respect to others for the persons to respect you back, especially when it comes to the elders. Because me as a person, when I was growing up, I automatically respect my elders. It doesn't make no difference how bad or how ignorant or how disrespectful that adult was to others. I would just show them respect. You know what I'm saying? So my experience with a lot of bad youths, they have got a lot of manners, but at the same time, there's some of them what don't have no manners. So I can't really generalize and say, yeah, because they're bad.
Right. Anyway, because we were talking about the parenting and then what all the believe in the parenting, they're the source of our kids or youth to go out of the control. Venus came with comments. Some of the comments I think he's mentioning with reason why our youth are going. The first comment he said a lot of factors: single parenting, domestic abuse at home, financial issues, trauma, parents' childhood backgrounds, peer pressure, and parent-child relationships. What do you think about those? Has been mentioned by Venus on the comment section. To you, Abdul Rahman. Oh, do you want me to display them on the screen?
Yes, that would be good. Yeah.
The first one, it was like a lot of factors. Single parenting, the first one.
Okay. So let's go with that was something that was mentioned to me earlier from a close sister of mine. And she said the same thing to me, that being a single parent and not having a positive male role model in the household tends to have an effect on how to upbring your children. However, I was brought up by my mum most of the time, and you would say that she was a single parent. But we had that level of the balance of fear and respect for our parents. So I feared my mum, but not in the way what people see fear. It was like a respectable fear that we didn't want to disappoint. I didn't want to disappoint my mum by allowing somebody else to come in from outside inside and say that your child has been unruly outside, because I knew that what pain that would cause her, if you get what I mean. So that, and the fact that we would get disciplined at home as well. So we had that respectable fear for our parents anyway. And it goes back to what my dad was saying. And that is that the point is that from the root cause is that in our house, the first thing that was taught to us was your manners and your morals and your respect to others outside. Do not leave this house and be disrespectful to anyone out there, because you wouldn't like it to be done to you. So that was instilled in us, regardless of like it said, the outside government, but the government, what was governing our household, there was certain respect and morals that we had to have within ourselves before we could go outside. And that wasn't said that couldn't be taken away from my mum who or my father who instilled that in us. That was done. But definitely single parenting is difficult because, like we mentioned earlier on, it's the time factor. If you're a single parent and you have to be going to work plus looking after your children, how are you going to balance that out? But it's the way that the Western world has been made now, that you can't afford to be at home and look after your children, even if there is two of you, because things are so expensive and it's just made that way. But my dad mentioned earlier, it's time. It's all about time, spending time with your children so that you know your child and that your child knows you. And then you're able to have that better connection and that better relationship with them. And they're able to have that respectable fear for you as well. But definitely, I think the Western world has built it that even if you are a parent, a two-house family, how often do you actually, and how much time do you actually spend with your children anyway? Do you get what I mean? But definitely being a single parent makes it more difficult. Definitely 100%. Because there's no male role model if it's a female there. And if that man is actually a man and is involved in his child's life to the best of his ability as well, it makes a big difference.
Right. Great. You've mentioned mostly single parents. You've mentioned as Bingi, you wanna add anything? Because this is let me add this question to either Abdurrahman or Bingi. You might gonna answer that, or Yusuf, one of you. You've mentioned mostly the female single parent. That's why maybe might gonna cause our youth to go out of the control. What about male single parent?
It's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing, just on the other side of the spectrum. Every child that we know, they need that balance between, the male and the female. What the father brings, and what the mother brings. It's
Yeah.
needed to be able to nurture the child in the right way. It doesn't mean that I know some youth that I work with in particular that have both parents at home, and they're still out there being unruly or involved in crime or involved in stuff. But again, some of those things, again, what was mentioned is to me is like undiagnosed health issues with that child, or there's many factors that are involved in that could be involved with a child that makes them turn to crime or turn to selling drugs or whatever it may be. There's a lot of different factors in it, but both sides of the spectrum, whether you're a single parent and you're a male, whether you're a single parent and a female, the child is going to be lacking care from one end, or they're either going to have daddy issues or they're going to have mommy issues, whichever you want to choose.
All right, Bingy, you add anything?
Yeah, what I would like to add to that is true. You have to have, I think it's crucial because the thing what they call the what is it called, the nuclear family, which is, they say that's the ideal family where you have the father and the mother and the children in a household, and to get that balance where you've got the masculine and the feminine bringing up the child in the right way, where regardless, even me as what I would describe myself as an alpha person, and at the same time I've got the feminine side which people say is emotional and caring, because that's the side where the mother brings in. I'm not trying to say a man is not caring and emotional, but if you get the right balance within the parenting, which can be transformed to the child, he's going to get that empathy, where when it comes to certain things, he's not going to be able to do certain things because he's going to think, well, that's not me, unless he's going to go outside onto the streets and learn it from alpha people. And this is where the ego comes in. This is where where somebody develops how could I say, what they call, you got no art, because that's what's being instilled in the streets, where you can't show too much affection, you can't show too much love. If you see an old woman walking across the road and you run to help, you're like, oh, you look at him, it's soft him. You know what I'm saying? Where if you see somebody get hurt and you run to help them, or you try to be sympathize with them or try to help them, they say, oh, leave them. Because that's what a lot of the youths them instill. It's like, I think it was last week where Simeon was saying something about you was coming from school and somebody was having a problem with the bags and a woman, and you chose to help her. Some people might say, Simeon, what you're doing, that's not a bad man thing to do, because you're helping some old woman to carry her bags home. And this is what they learn on the streets from alpha males, people who have ego problems, people who are also have low self-esteem. Because I believe a lot of these unruly kids, if you really sit down with them, they actually do have very low self-esteem.
Right. To you, Yusuf, actually, I know that you're my nephew and you had a chance to be raised by both parents. In one of our programs, you said that you went a bit out of, maybe because of the group. What do you say regarding you being raised with the two parents, and then you were thinking like, no, I have another route to go, rather than to listen what your parents saying?
Sorry, repeat that.
You are the one that said that you had a chance to be raised by both of your parents. And then
Yeah.
one of our programs, you mentioned that somehow you went in the wrong way, I'll say, because you've been arrested twice for some reason. I don't know why you're doing. So I wanted to know why, because we are thinking that single parent is a source of most of the youth to go out of the control. But it's for you, What can you tell us?
Yeah, me, you just one thing you have to understand. I was just a I had two parents that were both very strict. I was scared of my mom, and I was scared of my dad, and I also had a level of fear towards my older siblings as well, and my uncles as well. So
Enough.
I would get beats or discipline from any one of the above. So I had a very strict and firm household. How I managed to do that, I'd say, was peer pressure. And
Mm,
like Bingy said, most of the time it was just you're outside, and I was a curious kid. And sometimes on the outside, whatever you do outside with whatever friends you're with or whatever you see on the outside, if you see the older kids do, there's a lot of influence that there is outside. So there's things that an older kid might speak about or might say you should do, and sometimes when you're younger and you're still like naive, so you do things like to prove yourself. So and then you end up in trouble, and once you end up in trouble once, that's when you realize, okay, I'm not going to do this again. So that was in my case. It wasn't about that my parents were bad, but
mm,
there was it was bad parenting. There was just times where I had a bit more time than I should do to get into certain things I shouldn't be getting. But as soon as you get in trouble once, and then mum and dad found out, then that was the scary part. And then when you get in trouble twice and mum and dad finds out, then you know that, okay, this is not for me. And that was basically that's what basically took me, like, okay, I'm gonna try my hardest not to go this route, or I'm not gonna do anything that could lead me to go to this route. And also being in the cell for 8 hours wasn't nice. And also while I was there, my dad taught me a lesson. When it was time for him to pick me up, he said leave him there for a few more hours so he can learn his lesson a bit more, and then I'll go pick him up in the morning. But
mm.
unfortunately, the officer says, "Well, you can't do that." So that was something that he taught me right there and then. So if you're gonna do something, this is where you're gonna end up. And if you end up here, I'm gonna leave you here. I'm not gonna do anything to help you. I want you to take responsibility. So um, going back, yeah, going back to what you just said, even with two parents, a child can. There's still influences outside that can take its toll in a sense. There's still influences, but then again, I believe even with those influences, what happened with me and a lot of my friends is as soon as you get in trouble once, especially with the law, um, you tend to ease back and take a step back and move the right way.
Can I
Right.
just add something there
Yeah.
to the single parenting thing? I
Mm-hmm.
was I was in my coffee shop the other day, and a sister, she came to me and talking about her son, and she's a single parent, and the son, he said that how his mom always makes false like threats.
Yeah.
So when he does something wrong, she'll say to him, "Oh, I'm not going to get you a takeaway," for example.
Right.
But he knew that his mom was just saying it. So when she came in, she would bring him a takeaway.
Mm.
So it's like, again, because you're as a single parent, sometimes you're trying to play the disciplinary and good cop, bad cop.
Yep.
It's difficult for them to do both things. So sometimes when you tell your kid as a single parent off, you as a mom as well, I'm talking about on the mom side, because they are the ones that normally are the nurturers, and they want to mollycoddle their kids and what's it called? It's hard for them to add that discipline. And more often than not, they go back on their actual punishment. So again, it allows the kid to he was like outwardly saying, "Look, I know my mom's not going to do what she says she's going to do." So
Mm.
there's that there as well. That balance is not there of her being able to be strong on the fact that she says, "Look, I'm not going to cook for you. I'm not going to do this. You have to learn to do these things on your own." A lot of the time, as parents, single mum parents, they go back on that because they start to feel sorry for their young people, and I think that has a detrimental effect on them, because they don't learn nothing from it, and then they tend to get more and more and more out of control. So sometimes it's kind of like, although you might not have been put in that position by choice, you found yourself in that position. You have to now, like we know as Muslims, it's might be a test from God, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He's put you as a parent in that position, that you have to now be both the mother and the father. So that's part of the test that you have to pass. And if you carry out you put a punishment out there, as hard as it may be to see your child not without their phone, or without, you're not going to cook for them or whatever else, it will, if you stand firm to it, it will help them in the future. I just wanted to add that, because it was something that was
all right.
Fresh.
Okay, so let's continue with the factors which is Venus brought to us. There is the I wanted to discuss mostly financial issues, because she mentioned financial issues. There are a lot. We will talk to. We look long. Yeah, financial issues, and then there is a lot of undiagnosed medical condition, especially with NHS situation, lack of funding to allow the right assessments and support. All right, so I just displayed there. All right, so to you, Bingi, what do you say regarding that statement?
A lot of undiagnosed medical conditions, especially with NHS situation, lack of funding to allow right assessment and support. Well, one thing I can say, and I don't know if it's misdiagnosis. I know that you have a thing what a lot of kids seem to have as a reason for their behavior, which is HD. Was it
ADHD?
ADHD.
Yeah.
ADHD. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I realized that even when I was inside prison, some of the CC prisoners I used to mentor, at least 90% of them had this diagnosis as the reason why they behave in the manner that they behave, and it was on some kind of medication. There's another what do you call it? There's another I forgot what they call this, what the diagnosis. But what I don't know if some of these diagnoses are just I'm not sure if some of these diagnoses are a reason for the behavior of our children being unruly. It's kind of an odd one, that, because it's something I'd have to look into, because I wouldn't like to make a statement no and then find out that I've said it off the cuff. But from my experience, is a lot of the children nowadays who have issues. I did a course for ACE, which is adverse child's experience, which I agree that kids, children, young people who have been through trauma in some way, shape, or form, whether it be they've grown in a house where there's been physical, mental, or sexual abuse, or the witness domestic violence, i.e., the father beating the mother, or the mother beating the father, or the father beating some of the kids. Because I know that one particular guy I was speaking to, he was saying he never used to get beaten from his father, but the two of his brothers used to get beaten all the time, and he said that affected him, because he was a younger one, and it used to affect him seeing his two elder kids getting beaten all the time. And he was saying this is what, and he said his behavior is with him seeing his father beating his two brothers, which no, as he was saying, this is why he self-harmed, because he was self-harming, and he'd always lash out. Any slightest argument he got into, he'd lash out. And his argument to me was he seen lashing out as a coping mechanism with what he used to experience with his father beating his two siblings. So yes, to a certain extent, I think that there's some medical situations, especially when it comes to adverse child's experiences, which is all around trauma. I think that there is issues with some of our young people and having a coping mechanism by going out and inflicting violence on others.
Right. Abdurrahman, do you have anything to add on that, or Yusuf? Because I've got so many factors here, we have to cover them all.
Yeah. What Brother Bingi said, and especially there is a lot of people that we have undiagnosed ADHD, and even as young kids, sometimes, especially in African and Jamaican and Caribbean households, no parents would know about ADHD. They would not even understand about any of this until they get here. So I understand Brother Bingi saying that.
Sure about that, because that's when you find out when you get here, because you don't have those kind of diagnoses when you're back home, because no one really thinks about that. But that could be one of the factors, and that is a factor to be fair, like behavior disorder. But then again, with that, as soon as a child knows that and they know they can milk it, if that was me, if I was younger, if I could milk that, I think I would have. So with that, it's almost like you give them an excuse to be bad. Because if I
Right.
have an excuse where I can be bad and get away with it, believe me, I would actually use it to be cunning, if I should say.
Right. Don't you think these trauma caused with domestic violence or abuse at home?
No, me personally, from my upbringing, of someone that's been beat as a punishment, and go, I did not. It didn't put any trauma towards me, because at the end of the day, I knew I did something bad. If it was a case where I was getting hit or disciplined for something that I didn't do, then I think that's gonna have a long time effect of abuse. But if it's you're getting disciplined for something that you did do and you've been told not to do, and you went and done it, there comes a point where it came to me was, I know if I do this, this is gonna be the outcome, and I chose to do it anyway. So when the outcome happened, I already expected it. So if with other kids or other households, their upbringing is, even if they don't do something wrong, or they stay out of trouble and they still get abused, then that can cause the trauma. I think that is wrong.
All right.
But
Abdurrahman,
yeah,
anything to add, or shall we go for another factor?
I'm just saying quickly, domestic abuse in the home, whether it's against like with the parents, either the father abusing the mother or the mother abusing the father. I've seen it on many occasions where the young person, the youth, thinks that it's okay to do that, to deal with it in that situation, because that's what they've seen growing up, both sides. And again, like it was just mentioned just now, that they see that as a bit of an outlet, that when they're mad, that they should lash out and stuff. So yeah, it does cause trauma. Because if you was to see your mother, somebody who you love, being abused by someone for nothing, then it's going to have some kind of effect on you, and vice versa. If you was going to see your father being abused by your mother for nothing, it would have a traumatic effect on you. So trauma does play into the issues that some young people go through, and because they're young and they're not matured yet, when it comes into school and they added certain pressures added to those other traumatic events, they're not mature enough to let it vent in different areas. Then they will choose the negative, to go and do the negative, because they can't go home and speak to anybody, or there's nobody available to speak to. So it definitely causes trauma in young people when it comes to seeing that abuse being given to one of their parents. In terms of like what Yusuf just mentioned about, the old, I'd say, Caribbean saying, but you probably African saying as well, is who can't hear must feel.
Yeah.
I heard that so many times growing up, and the moment you went out and you did something that you wasn't supposed to do, you knew that saying was in your head. Who can't hear is gonna feel, So definitely, yeah, it depends on the situation.
And can I just add something today? I want to take just what I want to also mention. It then comes down to the child's mindset. We have to go back to the mindset again, because if you grow in a household where you see your father beating your mother, or vice versa, it can affect you in two ways. You can say, well, listen, I'm not going to do this to my woman, my wife, because this is what I seen my father do to my mother, and I didn't like it, so I'm not going to do that. I don't like people putting their hand on a female because I seen what it used to do to my mother. Or it can have the other adversary effect, where somebody learns that effect and think, well, my father used to do it to my mother, so I'm going to do it to my woman. Or if my wife, or whatever the case may, they might think it's all right. So it's down to your mindset.
All right. Anyway, we've got our sister who wanted to comment on that. Very good today, because this is all about parenting. So it's very good to have someone from the other female side, actually. Sister Manahawa, please.
Hi, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay, I've listened halfway of the discussion. I got some few points. I listened from the discussion. I would like to ask in the group about the what they said about parenting. You either been grown up by both parents or single parent, and you are lucky if you have both parents growing you up. But sometimes you don't have a choice, that you are with one of the parents, whether a dad or a mom. And you've been saying about moms to be so soft, that we are not punishing you very well. We need to be tough. We need to be strong. But this is our nature. We cannot be so tough. Even if we try to be tough, it comes back to you, that a child is fighting you as well. We are trying to say good things, that do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. That's life. There is do and don'ts. But most of the time, kids, they don't listen to their mom. I don't know why. I'm trying to think, what can we do more? Because if you say that you need to be so strong, we need to be not soft. This is our nature. Why can't they listen to what we are saying? Because being a grown up is about listening. Being a mom is about teaching your kids good things. There's no mom who can teach the kid a bad thing. Why are you not listening? Thank you.
All right. Sister Manahawa just raised that question. I don't know who will gonna answer that.
Me, I'm gonna say
What my mom used to do.
Get
Before.
close to your mic. You just
Can you hear me now?
yeah.
yeah, I said what my mother used to do at some points.
If she said a lot of things,
You lost.
Yeah, if she didn't want to punish me physically
or take something from me to soothe me.
she never used to say anything to me.
What are you doing with your device there? Because you're just coming on off.
I was getting a phone call. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I said what my mother used to do as a form of teaching me and for me to be much more respectful and to listen to her. Sometimes she wouldn't hit me or she wouldn't raise her voice. She just throughout the whole day she wouldn't speak to me. She wouldn't say one word, and that was much more. of a punishment to me than hitting or her shouting. That made me want to listen to her because I did not want her not to speak to me. So one way that you can try a method of, if you want your child, if you've told your child to do one thing and if they're not listening, and if you've raised your voice and if you even ended up disciplining them, the next step is just to be silent.
Right. Bingi, maybe you have anything to add on that, or Abdurrahman?
Yeah. What I would like to say, I can empathize and understand exactly what the sister has just said in regarding to being a single parent mother, because like I was saying earlier, when there's the mother and the father in the house, you're getting two balances. You're getting the masculine and the feminine within the parenting. When the mother's there by herself, she's got to show that feminine side and the masculine side. So she's got to be soft as being tough. And sometimes a woman finds it hard to balance the two. And this is where the difficulty can arise, because some children who do not have the understanding of the mother's situation will then take advantage, knowing that, listen, my mother's not going to do nothing for me. She's not going to lay her hand on me. All she's going to do, she's just going to make, like what the person said earlier, make false promises, false threats, which she doesn't take out anyway, because it's not, like the sister said, it's not in her nature to be too tough, to be too aggressive. If you want, because I don't like to try to stereotype mothering, but the truth of the matter is a woman is more passive assertive than being passive aggressive, where the parent is the father is more passive aggressive, where the mother is more passive assertive, if you understand me.
All right. We've got another sister, Sister Zuhura. She's with us here, so let's listen what she has to say. Zuhura.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I think, personally, I think as mothers, I agree with the brother who's just spoken, that as a mother, you have to be strong and you have to have that assertiveness. And the weakness what women we have is trust. When our children tell us we're going here, we're doing this, you believe them 100%. One of the things as a parent that I've learned is I don't trust you. Whatever you tell me is not true. So you have to justify yourself to me that you are telling me what I want to hear. I'll give you an example. I have a son, and the things I used to be is, if he's saying he's going out with the friends, I'd ask, where are you going? I want an address. I want a telephone number of that family. I know he felt I was being intrusive of his life, but I needed to be sure he's telling me he's going to point B, and that is point B. You're not telling me you're going point B and then you go to point E.
Right.
So I think as a mother, we have to we have to be strong and be questionable, and asking our children, have ground rules. You know, the thing is, as parents, and this is a field I work in, parents don't have ground rules with their children. And they don't have what we call communication. There's lack of communication between parents. And another thing is absent fathers. Whether you're married, but there's still absent fathers. So absent fathers are also contributing to the whole thing. I've heard about domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is a very major thing with the trauma. But my thing is, parents need to be on their children's toes 24/7. What are they playing? Who are they playing with on the internet? Because the same people they're playing with, because there's the dark web. You don't know who's, somebody is playing with your 10-year-old boy or girl, and there's an adult who's put themselves as a 10-year-old. You don't know that. My thing is about parents being assertive, having ground rules, putting respect. You respect them and they will respect you. Because they're not, children in this country are not like how I was brought up. It was my parents say or the highway. That here it doesn't work like that. You have to follow the rules of this country. And secondly, you have to also build that relationship with your child. Because if my child can go to a teacher who they see only for the 8 hours and disclose a lot of things to them, but can't disclose anything to me, I will be questioning myself, where am I failing as a parent?
Okay.
But that's one of the problems, though. That's one of the problems. And I mentioned this on the very first show, I think. How much time do we as parents actually spend with our children? Teachers normally spend more time with our children than what we do, because they have like 8 hours at school, and then they come home. The sister said lack of quality time, 100%. They come home, and in our community, like the Muslim community, the children will then go to madrasa, and then they will come home, and then it's back to bed, and then it's repeat. So how much time do you actually spend? Quality time do you actually spend with your children? And it goes back to that as well. That's the only way that you can have the communication, you can have the respect, you can have all those things is by actually spending quality time doing the things that your child wants to do, that within reason, and then you will have the better relationship and build better communication with your child. That's what I believe, anyway.
All right. We've got another sister, Dadake. She's here to give what she has to say.
Sisters are all coming at the last minute.
Yeah, now they just actually you don't need to worry. We will extend it a bit of time. So let's go until 3:30. I think because they are just coming in, we wanted to hear what they're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
So until 3:30, if you guys are okay with that, is that?
Yeah. I want to hear.
All right. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, very interesting conversation from you brothers. I think we all have a role to play on how we bring our daughters to be future mothers and our sons to be the future husbands and role models.
Right.
First thing I think maybe we have to understand, all of us as parents in this country, we need to learn the respect.
Right.
A child will only respect you if you also respect them. And this comes to, if you tell your child, okay, if you're a good child, I'm going to give you this and this. Keep to that promise. You start learning the respect. If you warn a child, if you are not going to misbehave, I'm going to take away your PlayStation, make sure you keep to that promise. So there is a line to be drawn. I'm your mother, I'm your father, the rest will follow.
Right.
Yeah, and I will also say maybe I'm wrong, and I stand to be corrected. We are failing most of the time because of you brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm honest, we try most of our time as sisters to be very close to our daughters. Where are you brothers when it comes to your sons?
Right.
how many of you would say I've been in my son's life playing football, taking them to madrasa, picking them from school? Most of these roles are left for us. We need proper role models.
Right.
We have come here, we are so obsessed with making money. We are forgetting our duties.
Right. Dadake, maybe I have to ask you the question.
Okay.
At the beginning, probably you just, I don't know if you were here from the beginning. At the beginning, we were talking about the issues. Then there were individual, actually, I personally approached this person and I've raised that question to her regarding this, why the kids are out of the control. Her point was simple and clear, said that the government or the law of the government, the rules of the government, give the kids so much power not to respect their parents. What do you think, or what do you say regarding that comment?
I think, I'll be honest with you, alhamdulillah, I think the government is not doing a bad job. I think we are the ones doing a bad job. We have to draw a line. We have to draw a line. Are you punishing your child or you are disciplining the child? I think a smack is okay. But when you start taking your belt and whipping that child, that's when the government comes in.
Right?
Yes, because I think we are all protected. But how would you feel if a child is beaten almost like a criminal? Would you want not to intervene? Because too much beating is not going to put that child in a straight line.
Right. Maybe let me give you a little example, which is actually, it's a big part of the family. It matters to me. We had a young daughter. She was 14. It's about 2 years ago. And then she started complaining at school that my mom hasn't given me enough freedom. My mom just controls me too much. Now she was waiting to turn her at 16. So once she turned out 16, she went to report officially now, say that I don't want to live with my mom. And if you look at that case, the woman, she was getting every single thing which she wanted from her mom. So how can you say that maybe, I don't know, the government was helping her rather than trying to spoil her, take her from the family, which she's supposed to be, and going to live with somebody else?
Okay, I think we have some issues whereby some children, they may go a lie. That's so true. But what percentage? What percentage? Are we also going to say, maybe as a community now, did we intervene to hear both sides of that story? How fair was the mother to that child? Because we are here as a community. Do we stand together as a community? If that, let's talk, brothers. For instance, if that child talks like my mom doesn't allow me, and wallahi, I will be honest, maybe the child was wrong, which is so true. But then, did we listen to that child and see what was really happening in that house? Did we manage to talk?
I had a chance to talk to her, and she was involved with my daughters. It got to the point that my kids had to block her because what the situation she was coming. Actually, this was beyond of the imagination. Anyway, I think let's give the others a chance to hear what they are saying.
I want to add something to Dadake. Just one thing that you said about sometimes hitting a child doesn't always necessarily lead to positive outcomes. We can agree and disagree to that point. And the point of saying the government they're not doing anything wrong. I'm just gonna say the government is not trying to protect victims in that case, but you have to remember in this country, especially this government, they do have a sense of stigma that they're trying to break black families. That's something that I feel like they're personally trying to do, and they're trying to take
Okay.
the morals and the culture of that we have and our roots. They're trying to change that and trying to make us live their ways. And their ways, at the end of the day, even though it's not that bad, but it's not our way. We need to stick to our way because that's who we are, and that's who our children are gonna be. Me as a parent of two daughters right now, yeah, even though they're very young, I've already put it into my mind. I want them to grow up here, but I also want them to have the culture and the roots of back home and understand that there is a difference. It's not the same, because as soon as you say it's the same, then that's where you lose the community that we have. If you say it's the same as them, that's where we lose our roots and we lose the culture that we have, and then we lose the identity that we have, because then we start being other people instead of ourselves.
Okay, can I come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, brother, you have a point. You have a point. Then all this comes into: are you the role model for your children? Is their mother the role model of their children? Who are their friends? Whom are you mixing with? Do you preach and do what you say in the house, or you tell them, I don't want you to lie, yet you are the one who is lying to them? Because it's a structure. It's a structure. Whether you are in Africa, whether in Europe, it doesn't change who you are. If you are honest with the way you are, your children will definitely, and inshallah, most of the time, they will listen to you. But if you say one word and then you tell them something very different, and they say, oh, this is not who he is. He is just a pretender. Of course, he won't want to listen to what you say, because you are not doing exactly what you are telling them to do. For instance, go and pray. I'm just giving you an example, brother. Okay? Okay? Yep. Can you go and pray, for instance? If he doesn't see you praying, you cannot instill that in that child. But let's pray together. That's the difference. You cannot tell your child, do not smoke, if he sees you smoking.
Right. So they are leading what their parents do.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, because what you just said right there, 100%, it goes to the characters of the parents. It starts with the parents first, and the child will follow, because the child follows whatever they see at the end of the day. Yeah, but sometimes as parents, there are things that happen in the household that you don't want your child to see, but they tend to see it anyway. And as a parent, you should go back to them and say, I know what you saw, and that's not how it's supposed to be, but mom and daddy just X, Y, and Z, making them understand. That is true.
Yeah, and also, my brothers, do we use the word sorry if you've made a mistake to your child?
This is the Daka. This is big thing we've discussed so many times. As for us, let me talk based on my experience, because we come from Africa. We are thinking always parents are perfect. Even if you are doing a mistake, to say sorry to your kid is like a criminal or crime to you. So anyway, so let's give other chances, because we trying to put more information, and then I'm glad today actually we've got females who came on board to donate, and I'm expecting probably next Saturday as well if we'll get this kind of conversation, and then everybody will come on board and share their views, opinion, or anything. We don't know what we're gonna talk about on next Saturday, but we love to have you guys both. Okay,
I think Sister Zahura wanted to say something. Sister Zahura.
Yes, I'd like to add something, because I know brother. I think Brother Yusuf, you said that the government wants to remove the culture and identity. To be honest, I work for the local authority. I work within the social care. And one of the things when we do our assessment, we will ask you your identity. What do you promote for your children? Okay? So we are trying to request that the family, but the thing is, and I'll say this, an honest thing, is we've come to this country and we want to adapt the the culture of this country, but we are not doing the good job of it. You know, when you're mixing things, and what do they call them? Cowboy builders. That is what we are. So we are not getting the actual English culture. Neither are we in our culture. So we are lost in between as people. That's the first thing. Secondly, then how do you want to preach identity to your own child while you yourself, you don't have an identity? You lost your identity somewhere. And then you're telling your child, and sorry I've interrupted you. Some people here came and they've changed their country identity. Some people are coming from another country, and then you tell, oh, my family are from this country, I'm from this country. And then in school, they're written their nationality is a different nationality. And the children are questioning, who are they? So we've lost that identity from the day go. So now we need to start building that identity by you saying, as parents, we make mistakes, but this is who I am. My family come from here, but whether you build a story that we moved to this country, that's where I came from, then now I'm this, whatever you do, but you build that identity and let your children know who you are. A lot of the parents at home, we speak English. We all have our native language. Why are you speaking English to your child?
Okay.
And then we'll go to school and learn that language. But they will not learn your mother tongue.
One thing, when I speak about identity, the identity that I speak about, it's the identity of being a Muslim first and foremost. With my children or anyone, no matter what language they speak or what country they're in, the identity that I want them to know first and foremost is that they are a Muslim and they follow the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the first and foremost. That's my main point as a parent. That's what I feel like. If you're a Muslim, that's what every child should have, that identity first. The cultural stuff, yes, you can be in between with the cultural stuff. I'm not saying Western society is all the way bad, but then again, you have to remember your roots. You have to remember how to deal with your roots at the end of the day. You have to know that, and you're right, most of us don't know this, don't know that, don't know this. You need to teach that. So you should know, okay, this is where you come from, this is our roots, this is our culture, this is our way. But first and foremost, before any of this, you are a Muslim first, and this is what being a Muslim is. You're not going to be perfect, but this is what it holds, and this is what the standard that you need to live up to or try to live up to. So when I speak about identity, I speak about being a Muslim first, and then after your cultural roots and your cultural in between, as you say.
Right. Let's give it. Okay, Abdurrahman.
Nam. First and foremost, I want to say to the sisters, man, like, thank you very much, like, for coming and getting involved. Like, this is what we needed, like, to hear like your perspective and to kind of like add a little bit of spice to the conversation. And if I don't know many of these things like that the sister was mentioning about identity and so on and so forth, we spoke about it in one of the first shows that we did. We spoke about identity and stuff like that. So I'm with you 100%. Something that the sister said, I can't remember the name of the sister, but she said about us men, as men, are we doing our job? And I held my hand up because I thought to myself, you know, even me, and I mentioned this before, I work a lot of hours, and I feel as though that's the main thing that we should be doing, like going out and doing it, making money so that we can look after our wives, our children, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if you ask your child, like, genuinely, what do you want, like money or my time, I'm sure the majority will take the time. So I hold my hands up and say, look, man, as men, you know, we complain about this thing and nowadays about our women having this toxic masculinity and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's because many of us are not men. Many of us men are not. If if we're honest and we look deeply into it, we're not really the men that we aspire to be. Meaning, like Brother Yusuf just said, the identity we take from our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, radiallahu an, that are we men? Are we really like that? Like the Prophet, he managed to balance that between going out and ruling, and then being loving and being a father and being a husband and all those different kind of stuff. But us now in this dunya, in this world, we are caught up in the fact that we just need to go out and work hard and forget about at home and think that just providing is enough. It's not enough, and I hold my hand up to it because I'm trying to find a way that I can spend more time at
Quality
home.
time.
Yeah, quality time at home with my wife and children, because it will in the long run it will have a better effect from them. So I hold my hands up and say, like, we as men, we're not doing our best and aspiring to be what we claim to aspire to be, which is like as close as we can to our role model, who are the prophets, no matter which one it is that you want to follow. But the prophets should be our benchmark that we're trying to reach to. And if we get just a little bit close to them, then, you know, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be better people. But I hold my hand up and say, you know, sisters, thank you very much for coming on and, you know, handing it to us as well, that we need to be more men out there. And again, she made a beautiful point as well, that we need to be raising our daughters to be wives, and we need to be raising our sons to be husbands. And then when we put that into play, we should find it within ourselves that we are good wives and that we are good husbands. And then inshallah ta'ala, we will be those role models for them. So yeah, alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair for the sisters coming up and kind of like shaking things up.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Bingi, what I have to say? You've had the teachers. What they are saying?
Yes. Again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show my love and my respect to the sisters who are participating this week. And like again, I will say, without the feminine side, the masculine doesn't get the right balance, and that's why we need the women them to come and to give their side and to talk. And they've said so much positive things. A lot I agree with. Again, I'm Simeon's father, who has just held up his hand, and I'm going to hold up my hand as a father and a parent of 12. And I would say that, but I'm going to phrase it different than Simeon. I'm going to say I did my best, but my best was never good enough. And also, we have to remember that I grown up with the teaching that the hand that rocks the cradle will also rule the nation. And there's another teaching that I learned from Marcus Garvey, who said, if you show me the state of the woman, you will see the state of our community. And this is why our women mean so much. And this is why we call nature, Mother Nature. This is why we call Africa the motherland, because the mothers mean so much in our life. And as fathers, we need to step up a lot more than we are stepping up, to keep that balance, to make sure that our youngsters are getting the teaching, the knowledge, the experience, the manners, the respect, and the time from us, so that then when they turn into adults, they can pass that down to their parent. Because always going on right now, if we don't get the right balance, our kids are going to grow to adults with problems and add their problems down to their children, and their children will add their problems down to their children, and it's going to be a never-ending problem. So again, I will also thank the sister for their participation, and every word that has been said has been taken on board, and we respect what you've said. And I hope that people out there who are listening also have taken on board what we have said and what the sisters have said. And I hope that they participate next week, because we need the women them to participate them, because we as men are nothing without the women. We have to hold up our hands and say that. So Again, thank you very much for your participation.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, we've just discussed the factors which cause our youth go out of the control. My expectation, I was expecting probably we might gonna have a time to discuss what the solutions are. And we say that we've got at least 5 minutes. So if we can that 5 minutes get at least few solutions how to help youth. I don't know who will go first.
I'll jump in there. I'll jump in there.
Okay.
I'll jump in there and I'll be quick. Again, it's getting this balance right, the feminine and the masculine, and also to change the mindset of our children. Because what you have to remember is, and a couple of the sisters have mentioned this, is when you are you got to give enough time to your children. You've also have to have rules and regulations within your household that your children has got to follow. And when they do break those rules and regulations within the household, they should know that they are breaking a rule and a regulation. As a matter of fact, they should fear to break these rules and regulations. When I was growing up, I used to fear to break these rules and regulations that my mother set within the household. So I think that is another thing. And it's not about growing your child to have fear because the fear of what's going to happen to them, but fear as in respect. And Simia mentioned it earlier that when you are a child, to go outside and do something that you know is going to make your parent be disgusted, feel let down by you. Most positive children do not want to let down their parents. At the same time, if they're going outside and they're doing things that they know that they're not supposed to do, and they don't have no care, that's a completely different argument. But the majority of the children should be, when they go out, they should be thinking, I do not want to do this because I don't want to let down my mother and I don't want to let down my father. That's all I would like to add.
All right, Sister Manahar, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I have. I thank brothers for respecting us, coming to the group and explain what we have been saying. What I would like to say is two parents make one family. And without two parents, one person can never be 100% in parenting. Whether it's a dad or a mother, we can never be 100% about parenting because we have a lot of things to do. Just imagine if you are on your own as a father and you are working, you are growing up these kids, you are cooking, you are doing everything, you are shopping, doing everything. Can you manage to do that? So I would like everybody to think about families. When you have differences among parents, father or mother, you need to sit down and discuss about how, if you separate, how are you going to do about parenting? If you don't need to separate, how can you manage resolving your problems without affecting kids? Because it's been a lot of problems about single parenting, and the way we are growing up our kids, it has impact. Another thing is about youth. There's a limit. You can control your child, but when they become youth, when they are youth now, they are grown up youth people, they don't listen much. So we need to discuss as well, how can we manage to bring up our kids, especially if you are two parents or if you are lone parent. How can we do that? Thank you very much.
Right, Dadake, anything to add?
I think maybe inshallah, what we can do, try to have family meetings. If you cannot have them once a week, maybe try a fortnightly. Sit as a family and then ask, what have you done today? Or what have you done in the course of the week? How do you want me to help you? And then you can sort those things out before they become bigger. Okay? Be a friend, be a parent, but not a dictator in the house.
Thank you very much. Zahura, do you have anything to add? I think Zahura, she not available.
Okay, can I finish then if someone is not there?
Yeah.
Okay, and
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and as a brother who said our culture, and foremost we have to be Muslims. That's fantastic. As a Muslim, then practice what you preach. As a Muslim, let's practice what we all preach. Be humble, be kind to your wife, be kind to your neighbor, be honest, no dodgy dealings, and then you'll see the difference.
All right, thank you. Abdurrahman, last word before we close it today.
I'd say in terms of a lot of good things have been said. So I think we we've mentioned a lot what we need to be done, changing discussion at Omar. I don't understand that. What we need to do
to me, I think.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is we need to take on board what's been said today, and kind of like also within us. I think what we try to do is, and I've mentioned this before, is we try to change the whole world, but not within ourselves. So at least within these people that are on this panel, I don't know how much of us know each other like that, but if we ever have a struggle or we have a problem, that we say that we're able to reach out to one another. If we're able to have my child has an issue and I'm on my own, for example, or and I need that female perspective, I'm able to speak to someone else, because I think a lot of the time we've forgotten that, and we've mentioned it, and I think on every episode, that especially within our African culture, that we've forgotten about that whole ethos of it takes a village, it takes a community to raise our children. So I think that that's something that we need to instill into our youth as well, that if uncle says something to you that is not in contradiction with what I would say to you, you need to respect that. That's something that needs to be instilled in our children as well. So therefore, if Sister Dadake or Manawa come to my child and said something to them, I'm not going to take offense to them saying it. Do you understand what I mean? Because I think many of the times that's part of the problem, that nobody wants to speak to anybody else's child, or nobody wants to allow anybody else to speak to their child, because they don't, it's just we need to get back to the fact that we don't know everything, and to allow other people to have a say, as long as it doesn't contradict with our beliefs and what we're saying. But yeah, a lot of important points. We maybe should get like a bit of a PowerPoint and
I just wanted to finish off. Just there's a point that Dadaka did say, and when I was listening to it, and I said, yes, that is true. Is the wives should play the roles of wives and lead the daughters to be good wives, and the husbands should be husbands and lead the sons to be good husbands. And also as fathers, going back to time, spending time with your kids, and taking them to football and spending quality time and actually speaking to your kids does play a big role in raising children. And also what Brother Abdurrahman says is trust in the community as well. And when you trust the community, especially to raise your child, and knowing that the community, trusting that the community won't contradict what you say to your child, and they'll say the same thing that you would say at home, outside, is what we need to get back to. And I feel like if we can get back to that, then I feel like we have a brighter future for our children.
Right. Thank you very much. I think we have to conclude for today. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Bingi. Thank you, Abdurrahman, Yusuf, Dadake, Zuhra, Manahawa, Venus. Much appreciation from you, because you've given so many factors which actually make our topic today run very smoothly. For those who are not subscribed yet to our channel, please do so, and try to share our videos to the others, because we're trying to educate the communities. We have so many things we are discussing within this channel. And then I don't know if we will continue from next week because of Ramadan, or we're going to change the subject. This is I'll talk to Abdurrahman and Bingi and Yusuf to get to know what is next. I think for today, I don't have much to say. I have to appreciate sisters today. You come and make our platform very hot. You come with something until we, as the men, we raised our hands. We agreed that we don't do good things to the families. So we have to be leaders of our family. See you next Saturday.